A few weeks ago, tech YouTuber MKBHD filmed himself speeding, going 96 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, and also potentially in a school zone. I finally had time to figure out where this road is, so today I'm going to walk you through the steps I took to find it. This part of the original video was cut, but thankfully Aspie Alpaca re-uploaded it, so thank you for doing that. The first thing I would do when searching for a video location like this is go through and search for shortcuts that can lead directly to the spot, something like a street name or house number that gives a concrete data point. In this case, there really isn't anything, so the next thing I did was to look at what useful information can be had from the video. On the left side, there's this rock outcropping in a fairly heavily forested area that doesn't appear to have any houses. On the right, we've got a fence, got this very prominent tree right in the middle of the windshield that probably won't help to figure out what area to search in, but will be very useful for matching up the street view. Also in his rearview mirror, there's a green street sign coming in from the left. It's important to note that it's green because in New Jersey, where this was presumably filmed, they vary the street sign colors quite a lot. They can be blue, yellow, green, probably other colors. So when I was searching, if the street sign in the area was the wrong color, I could just knock that area off completely. Looking inside the car, there's a clock here that says 14:11, so 2:11 p.m. and probably Eastern time. And then there's a shadow from the sun that makes it look like he's driving pretty much straight at the sun at the beginning of the clip. And as we go along a bit, he makes a slight right turn and the shadows change accordingly, where now it looks like maybe the sun is just slightly off to his left. And then the road seems to go off quite a ways straight. There's also a useful part in the original video that hasn't been cut, where he's driving the same car in what appears to be the same location. There's a white fence off to the left with another brown fence and then a large red house. There don't appear to be houses off to the right here, although there could be something through the trees right straight ahead of us. Looking inside the car, it says 14:10, so literally 1 minute before the other clip, and the sun is well off to his right based on the shadows here. We can take that information and just sketch out what the road looks like here. So initially he's driving straight at the sun and then makes a slight right, and then he's driving in the earlier clip with the sun just off to his right and then makes a slight left. And then we don't really know what's going on here, but it's a pretty safe bet to say that these just sort of connect somehow. And then based on that green sign, there's a road coming in from the left, and it could also go off to the right as well. Now that we've got a sketch of what the road looks like, we need to decide where we're going to look for it. It's pretty common knowledge that MKBHD is based in New Jersey, and the general vibe of the video matched up pretty well with what northern New Jersey looks like, especially in like the more rural areas. So I went ahead and assumed that this was a project that was based out of his studio and would be within about 70 kilometers of the studio. And the reason for picking 70 kilometers is I figured that would be around an hour driving through a city. Now that we've settled on a location, we can check where the sun is at that time and match up what the road would actually look like on sort of a north-south orientation. So I've already put in the date and time as November 10th at 2:12 p.m. So if we're looking straight south, the sun is going to be just to the right. So we can go back to our sketch and just add a line here that north would be just off from straight up and down our screen. And then we can use that to line up the road on the actual map. Then if we go back to Google Maps, the first thing that I did was add all the roads in this area that have a speed limit of 35 miles an hour. And this was just in hope that the road would be accurately added into OpenStreetMaps, which is not always the case. OpenStreetMap data is just added by volunteers, so it's not always complete. And indeed, after I spent about an hour checking all these little white roads, none of them really were matching up, so I ended up going sort of back to the drawing board at that point. The next strategy I took was to just look more into what he was doing that day and try to figure out where he might be doing it. So he was driving this Lamborghini, which I didn't recognize right away, but luckily there are car people out there that can recognize a car by its interior. And it turns out that this is a Lamborghini Revuelto, which is relatively new, so the used market probably doesn't have very many on it, and it's also very expensive. So I went ahead and made the jump that this would be at a Lamborghini dealership. So if we go back to Google Maps, or Google Earth rather, we can add the Lamborghini dealerships in the area onto the map. You can see there's still 5 of them, so it doesn't narrow it down that much, but it sort of knocked out this whole southern section. And then if we go back to the original video, there's this section just before the part where he's driving the Lamborghini, where he's at like this grocery store parking lot or something. And if you look at the time here, it says 11:53 a.m. So since the weather looks the same and the region looks the same, I figured this is the same day and he's on his way to the Lamborghini dealership to test drive this Lamborghini. So my next step was to try to figure out where this grocery store is. And I'm sure these curbside pickup signs are instantly recognizable for some people, but it's not one that we have in the Midwest, so I didn't recognize it. And then also while watching the video, he goes past this advertisement for Brian's painting. So shout out to Brian. I went ahead and looked up where Brian's painting is located, and it's here at this red marker up here. So I zoomed in on there and just started looking for grocery stores in that area, and eventually landed on a Stop and Shop, and then searched all the Stop and Shops in the area until I found this one, which has the same sort of coloration on the front. And then later on in the video, it shows this gray house over here. Go forward just a little bit, there's the gray house. So he was at that grocery store on his way to the dealership. So if we go back to Google Earth again, we've got his studio, the grocery store that he stopped at, and then all the Lamborghini dealerships. And it didn't really make sense to me that he would go from his studio to this grocery store up here and then come back south to this dealership. I just made the jump that he's going from his studio to the grocery store to this dealership up here. So after that, I added the schools to the map, which you can also do in Overpass Turbo, just like this. And I just added it for the whole circle that I was originally searching in. I could have narrowed it down to just by the dealership, but it was just simpler this way. After adding all the schools to Google Earth, I went ahead and oriented the map so that that long section of road would basically be running straight up and down on my screen. And it didn't take me very long at all to land on this Riversville Road right by this Glenville School. As you can see, it kind of has a similar shape to the sketch that I made, where we've got the slight left turn first and then the slight right turn later. So slight left turn, slight right turn. And when we drop into the street view here, you can see that this is indeed the same view. We've got that tree, we've got the speed limit sign, and we've got the children at play sign. And I'll add in a side-by-side as well if you're not seeing it. So to answer the original question, the road is Riversville Road approaching Glenville School in Greenwich, Connecticut. I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you for watching.